What is up? What's good? What's going on? How you doing? How you been? Hope you're doing well. I'm sitting at the house. It's Friday morning, April 2nd, 9:33 a.m. I've got a few things to do to get ready for orientation, but in general, I've got a couple of days where I don't have much going on. So I'm trying to get some business stuff worked out. For those of you out there that uh, you know, run a small business as an owner operator, or you're running a hot dog stand, whatever it is you're doing, you probably understand all of the paperwork involved with running a business, all the taxes. Man, I wish we had a simpler tax code in the United States. Taxes, it should not require like a degree or a certification or something like that to file taxes. If you need like specialized training to file taxes, then that right there is a sign that there's something wrong with our tax code. Anyway, um, what I wanted to talk about in this video, and I'm going to try to keep it fairly short, is bookkeeping. And I want to preface this. I try to provide context whenever I give my opinion on anything. I try to provide context uh, because I'm not like all knowing. This is my first year as an owner operator, my first tax year. I paid somebody to do bookkeeping, and I paid somebody to file my taxes for me because I wanted to see how it was done. I didn't want to get out there and just completely wing it. I mean, it was so overwhelming becoming an owner operator, all the stuff that I have to keep track of, and just everything with running a business. So I offloaded as much of it as I could the first year, so that it could help me learn. And well, I learned, and one of the things I learned is something that I already knew. You can't trust other people. If you want something done right, you have to do it yourself. Other people don't have skin in the game. They don't really give a shit. Somebody just completely half-assing your bookkeeping can cost you thousands of dollars, like it did me last year. So let me show you a spreadsheet. Let me switch this over to the spreadsheet. I'm going to go over this in detail and explain to you what all this is, but basically I've decided to do my own bookkeeping this year. And that is mainly because of how bad the person that did my bookkeeping last year was at bookkeeping. Um, so, what is bookkeeping? Bookkeeping is just basically keeping track of your write offs, all of your business expenses. So, keeping track of all of your receipts and just all of your expenses, your fuel expenses, your tolls, your just every expense you have, parking, everything that you can possibly write off as a business owner. Bookkeeping is simply keeping track of all of that. Now, you need all the receipts for your records, but you also need to total up all of your deductions. So, bookkeeping is basically tallying up all of your deductions. It's not like that big of a deal. It's a little bit tedious. It's kind of a pain in the butt to do, but as long as you keep on top of it, it's not very bad. Now, if you're like me, where you're doing all of this in one day, you're doing like 3 or 4 months worth of bookkeeping in a single day, then yeah, it can be a little bit of a pain in the butt to do. But as long as you do it on a regular basis and you keep up with it and you get a routine down, it's not that bad. Um, the person that did my bookkeeping last year, they only charged $60 a month to do bookkeeping. That's on the cheap end of how much, most people that do bookkeeping want $20 a week, $30 a week, somewhere in that area. So, $60, $80 a month, $100 a month, somewhere in that area, somewhere between $50 and $100 a month is normal for bookkeeping. And all it is simply just keeping track and totaling up your expenses and like putting them into categories. So, because some of your expenses you can't fully write off, and this is based on what I know. And again, preface, context. I'm not all knowing. I'm not like a 20-year veteran. I'm not a CPA, an accountant, or anything. This is going off of what my accountant has told me and what I've learned in my time of doing it. She told me that like things like phone and internet, you cannot write them off 100%. The maximum you can write them off is 95%. Um, so you're supposed to like put down the percentage of business use of your phone and your internet. Um, and The most you can go is 95%. So you have to categorize your expenses because not all of your expenses are 100% write offs. Honestly, the only one I know of that's not 100% write off is the phone and internet. As far as I know, the accountant told me that's the only one that's not 100% write off. Aside from things like your office space at your house, that of course is not 100% write off. You can't write off your entire mortgage and all of your utilities and stuff like that. But let's get back to the bookkeeping. So how am I doing bookkeeping? My bookkeeping person cost me several $1,000s in write-offs. I was just reviewing all of my stuff. I filed taxes last week, and I was going through the bookkeeping that they did. And let me actually no, I was going to show you the piece of paper they like hand wrote my bookkeeping crap. I think that's one of the reasons they fucked up so bad on it is they did it by hand. Like the people who do my accounting and bookkeeping, they're really old, and it's a couple of old women. You know, nothing against women, nothing against old people, um, but it's a couple of old people that are computer illiterate, and just on my fuel taxes alone, or just well, my fuel write-offs, not my fuel taxes, but on my fuel write-offs, on one of my fuel cards, I had $12,000 in fuel from last year. I paid for $12,000 in fuel after discounts, after everything. I paid $12,000 in fuel on one of my three fuel cards, and my total write-off for fuel for the year was $4,800, according to my person who did bookkeeping. So that was like at least $7,000 or $8,000 in just fuel that they screwed up on my write-offs. So like I'm not doing my own bookkeeping because like it's expensive and I want to avoid paying it. I would happily pay $60 a month to have somebody else do this, but I can't trust somebody else to do it. And if I'm going to have to do the bookkeeping just so that I can double check to make sure they're doing the bookkeeping correctly, then what's the point of paying somebody else to do the bookkeeping if I'm going to have to do it anyway just to make sure they're doing it accurately? Anyway, so let's go through here on how I do bookkeeping. So I digitize everything. Let me kind of show you what my receipts look like. I think I've shown this before, but let me pause this. All right, I don't think there's anything too terribly personal on this page, so I'll show you what this looks like. Okay, so this is just my primary monitor. You can see my business name there. That's not a super secret. And this is what my tax stuff looks like. So here, this is, let me go into this. Yeah, there's nothing too terribly important in here. So this is my business folder on my home computer. And I have tax year 2020, tax year 2021, my articles of organization, my lease agreements, maintenance records, tax filing documents, truck documents. Truck documents are like titles, stuff like that. Pictures I've taken of the like engine plate and the door panel information, stuff like that. So let's go into tax year 2021, and these are the folders I have in there. So I have bills. This is like my internet service for the truck. My home internet is something completely different that's filed differently than like my cell phone internet that I use for the truck. EFS fuel card. So these are my fuel cards. These are the transactions for my fuel cards. Logs. These are my hours of service logs. You need those so that you can tally up the total number of days you're away from home for per diem pay. You can write off something like $58 a day every day you're away from your house as a tax write-off. It adds up to a lot of money. Make sure you keep track of that. Receipts, these are just general things like scale tickets, drug tests, tolls, maintenance, repairs, things like that. All that goes in there. Settlements, these are all of my USA Truck settlements that I got this year. When I get Landstar settlements, I'll start putting them in there. And then right in here we have new stuff. It's blank right now, but what I do is whenever I have new things to work on, I digitize everything. So I have a scanner downstairs. So whenever I get home from being out on the road, if I have physical copies of receipts, I scan them in to my computer, and then I will categorize them and put them away and stuff like that. Now the file structure and the naming structure that I use for my files is every one of my files has a reference number to make it easier to find, and everything's based on the date. So I have a specific way, a format that I use, a naming convention for files. So the reference number is the date with an extra digit at the end, because sometimes you have more than one receipt on a date. So if you have like 5 receipts on a date and your reference number is the date, well, you can't use it 5 times. So I have an extra digit at the end. It starts with 1 and works its way up from there. And then it goes the actual date and then what it is, settlement, tolls, a brief description of what the receipt is. But this is what I do. I put everything into new stuff, and then as I put it into the spreadsheet, I'll move it out of new stuff and put it into the actual folder it's going into. So new stuff these are things that I have not put onto the bookkeeping yet. Once I put them into bookkeeping, then I move them into their proper folders. So let's go back over to the spreadsheet. Let me move this. Yay! This is what I'm looking at over here on this other monitor. So let's flip to spreadsheet. So BestPass. This right here is just a receipt from BestPass. So Landstar doesn't, like USA Truck provides transponders to you for tolls, and they bill your tolls on your settlement. They take care of all your toll stuff, and they charge you on your settlements for that stuff. Landstar doesn't do much of anything for you. Like Landstar doesn't provide anything. They don't do anything. It's almost like having your own damn authority with Landstar in how little they do for you. That's another video. I'll make a review video on Landstar at some point. Like I haven't even gone to orientation yet, so let's not jump ahead on bashing Landstar too hard yet. So I had to order BestPass a few days ago, and I got a receipt, $410 expense. So April 1st, which was yesterday, is the date that I ordered BestPass. This is the company, BestPass. The reference number is my specific little naming convention I use, which is the date with an extra digit at the end. And then this column right here is income. If it's an income, then it goes into this column. And then the type of income it is goes right here. And then if it's an expense, it goes into this column. And then the type of expense over here. So this is an expense of $410, and it's all tolls. Well, let me show you how I do a settlement. So this right here is a settlement, and it's a really simple settlement to do. This is a USA Truck settlement. It's a single line for this settlement because I had $18 of miscellaneous pay. USA Truck pays you $18 to watch safety videos, and they require you to watch a safety video every month. So I watched a safety video that month. They paid me $18. It was miscellaneous pay. And then my expenses for the week were more than $18. So they took $18 out in expenses and they expensed it out to insurance. So that was that entire settlement was just that $18 from watching the video. They dumped it into insurance. So here's a normal settlement or a more normal settlement. It's actually, it has tolls coming out of it. So it has like some extra line items on it because it has tolls. So all three of those lines are one settlement. If you notice, the reference number is the same on all three of these lines. So the first line is income. So what was my income on this? All of my income on this settlement was trip pay. $5,615.60. What were my expenses? I had three expenses on it. I had $562.66 of insurance because I didn't have a paycheck for several weeks. So all of my insurance accrues week over week from not having any income, any settlements. So this is paying, old insurance and stuff like that. Communication, this is the ELD. So the ELD is only $22.60 a week. So it's been several weeks since I had a paycheck right here if I racked up that much in ELD charges. And then I had $114.55 in tolls come out. They only take out tolls once a quarter at USA Truck. So I had tolls that came out of this check. It probably came out from a few checks ago, but I didn't have a check since then. So it all came out of, whenever I finally did have a check come in. So I mark the amount and then I put what it is. I categorize it right here in the type. And then down here, this is another settlement where I did the same thing. But this one is only a 2-line this one's back to a 1-line settlement. This is another one where I watched 2 safety videos and they took $36 out for the safety videos and put it to insurance. A normal settlement that doesn't have tolls coming out is this one right here. $33,476 or $3,476.70 on trip pay. And then $257 coming out on insurance, $22.60 for communication. So that's basically how I do it. If a receipt or a settlement has multiple transactions for it, I just add in more lines. And I categorize them together with the reference numbers. That's how I keep stuff together, is with the reference numbers. Down here, all these EFS things, these are, this is one of my fuel cards. And each transaction is basically 2 lines, because they charge me for fuel and then they charge me transaction fees on this particular fuel card. I pay per transaction on this fuel card. My other fuel card down here, this Comdata fuel card, I just pay a $5 monthly fee for that one. And there was a $50 activation fee as well. Internet usage here, CAT scale tickets, single line item for that, but you should get the idea. Like this is it. Now this stuff up here, this is completely unnecessary. Now real quick, none of this stuff has any formulas. All of this information right here, no formulas. This is just pure data. No formulas. This is just pure data. These over here are formulas, and basically income just adds up everything in this column D. Expenses adds up everything in column F, and then revenue basically subtracts expenses from income. And this is just a way for me to kind of track how much money I'm making, how much money I'm spending. There's still a ton of things that I haven't put on here yet. I have a big stack of receipts for maintenance and repairs that are in the truck that I need to scan in and put on here. So this has basically all of my income and expenses so far this year, except maintenance and repairs. Maintenance and repairs are not on here yet. I need to get all my documents out of the truck, scan them in, and then put them on here. Now, here's the thing. Whenever I take this to my tax person at the end of the year to file my taxes, if I show her this, she's going to get pissed off. She doesn't want to see all this. She doesn't want to have to add all this up. If she has to add all this up, she'll want to charge me for bookkeeping, because part of bookkeeping is tallying all of this up. So I've got all the data entered right now, but it's not tallied up yet. So let me go over here to sheet. What do I have on this one? Oh, okay. That's where I'm just like adding up things. So this is how I tally it up. Let me actually just delete, and I'll show you how to do this. This is a pivot table. Pivot tables, if you know how to do them, are incredibly easy. So I'm going to go over here to another sheet, or basically another tab in Excel. And I'm going to go to Insert, and then click on Pivot Table. And I'm going to choose the data that I want to use for this pivot table. So I'm going to click on this arrow, and then I can just come over here and select all of this. Click on that arrow, and it's the location where it's going to put the pivot table is listed right here. It's on sheet 3. So I just click OK. Bam. Now I have a pivot table over here. Now I can choose how I want the data represented. So all I'm really interested in are two things. The expense category and then the type category. So all I did was just put a check mark over here in expense and type. Now when you're doing pivot tables, you want to put some type of header. Like I did on each of the columns, how I put expense, type, company name, and stuff like that to identify the data. You should do that when you're working with pivot tables to make them easier to understand. So what this does is I can go through here and modify this and have it represent the data any way I want it to, but this is perfect. This is exactly what I want it to do, is give me basically a tally. So what it did is it went through and it totaled up everything that was categorized as communication. So all of my communication comes up to $248.60. My drug test, I had a single drug test, it was $22. All of my fees come up to $86.25. My fuel is $5,712. All of my insurance expenses, $1,121.64. Internet, $299.97. Scale, $38.5. Tolls, $590.48. Man, I've spent a lot on oh yeah, well, 410 of that was buying that Best Pass, and a lot of that expense, $350 of that, is prepaying, which that is an intended payment, an intent. There's an intent to pay, so I can go ahead and write that off, even though I haven't actually spent that money. I've put that money onto a prepaid toll, so it is intent. So I go ahead and write that off. But yeah, it's real simple to do the bookkeeping. This is just basic Excel. What I've seen most people in trucking do, and let me switch this over to my fat head. What I've seen most people doing that like talk about doing bookkeeping as an owner operator, what most of them I'm seeing do, they use QuickBooks. I've never used QuickBooks. I'm not too terribly familiar with it, but it's my understanding all QuickBooks is like a dumbed down version of Excel, where it has like pre-made stuff, like it has templates that you can use. Whereas Excel is just kind of like raw. It's like QuickBooks without, any pre-made stuff. So I should be able to do exactly the same thing in Excel that QuickBooks can do, but it would require more work. I prefer to have things my way. I'm kind of a control freak. So I didn't even bother looking at QuickBooks because it's so easy to get it set up in Excel the way that I want to do it. I like things that are simplistic. A lot of the things that I saw in QuickBooks on how people are entering this stuff is they're like clicking on a button and it pops up with a screen and they have to fill in all kinds of stuff and then like click OK on it or something like that, and then it'll take that information and populate it over somewhere else. Why deal with all that crap when I can just enter it all on the same page, line by line by line, and it makes it so much easier for data entry rather than filling out forms and crap like that. Um, but yeah, it's this is what I plan on doing for bookkeeping. I just did it today. I haven't been doing any bookkeeping up to this point this year, so I just did all this within it took me about 2 hours to input all this information, create the spreadsheet and all that stuff, and figure out like a lot of the time was mainly me trying to sit here and figure out how I wanted to do it. So this actually didn't take very long at all, and I've done like 3 months worth of bookkeeping. Well, I haven't finished yet. Like I said, I still have to scan in all of my what is it? My maintenance and repair receipts, my non-digital receipts. I have to digitize them. Uh, and one other thing, I'm not sure if I mentioned it when I was talking about. Let me move this back over. So whenever I was talking about all this stuff right here, how I digitize everything, and like if you go in here and you look at this stuff, let me see if there's something in here that doesn't have things that are too terribly personal. Let me pause this so I can see if I can show you a receipt. All right, we on pause. All right, I found some receipts that don't have anything too terribly personal on them. Most of these receipts have like my full address, my full name, like account numbers and all kinds of craziness on them. But these CAT scale tickets don't have much of anything personal on them. So they have my truck number and stuff like that. 79,240. Is that a beer load? What in the hell? That's some heavy crap. I think this was a load coming out of Spring Hill, Kansas, going to Florida. Those Procter and Gamble people really like to put as much on the damn trailers as they can. But yeah, all of my receipts, I digitized them so that this is what they look like. You know, you just double click on them, they're PDF files. Some of them are image files. Almost all of my receipts are PDFs. But this is what they look like, and everything syncs up to the cloud. I have it set up to where my entire business folder is synced up with Google Cloud or Google Drive. So every one of these files that are in here are stored on Google's cloud service, Google Drive. And I don't use enough data. As you can see, most of these file sizes are really tiny. I don't use enough data on Google Drive that I have to pay for it. I just use the free one. So that's pretty sweet. But that's, let me get this back over to Fathead mode. There we go. But yeah, that's just an overview of the bookkeeping that I'm doing and how I do it. It is incredibly simple to do with Excel with the way that I do it. I don't know how much QuickBooks charges to use their software. I don't know how much Excel is. I only paid $10 for Excel. It was for the whole Microsoft Office suite. I only paid $10 for it because in my previous job, we were a Microsoft partner, and I got it at a discounted price. I don't know how much it is for the Office suite. Like I have the Office Professional, and it was only $10 because we were a Microsoft partner. But if you have Excel or you're a control freak like me, then you can probably bypass using QuickBooks because it is incredibly simple to do bookkeeping in just Excel. So it's anyway. That's just a brief overview of how I just started doing bookkeeping, and that's how I'm doing the bookkeeping. So thanks for watching. Have a good one. Bye.